What's the, like, the person who stays on their racing line, am I answering my own question? Is that if you move off your line there and something happens, then you're at fault? Or is it the other way around, like if you force someone off their line? I don't know, let me know. What's up, squad? It's your squid. You know what the video is about. It's been a hot minute since I did a reaction, and this is a new studio setup. We moved house and whatnot, so let me know what you think in the comments. But now that that's out of the way, let's just get straight into it, shall we?
This is Formula One. As a new fan of the sport, watching these races for the first time, there's one thing I couldn't help but notice. F1 drivers are all over the road. To make a left turn, they go all the way to the right of the track.
I will preface this with, this is something my old man tried to teach me back in the day playing Gran Turismo on PS2, right? Is that he called it the racing line, that you got to start out wide, cut it at its most narrow point, and then like finish wide as well, so you can keep up the most speed. And that's pretty much what they're going to tell us here, I'm fairly certain, but we'll see, right?
Through 90-degree corners, hairpins, turns that lead into other turns, and if I learned anything in geometry, it's that the quickest path between 2 points is a straight line. But what do you do when you can't take the straight line path?
Find the straightest one possible.
Where they turn is one part of a larger strategy based on physics, practice, and a lot of skill.
Yeah, nice. And that's why it's like so controversial when someone gets in under someone.
The world at ridiculous speeds.
Because it's like, bruh, that's not even a racing line. Like, why are you there?
That's Brad Philpott.
I've been racing since I was 8 years old, and I've been teaching people how to drive on track for the last 15 years. I think the one area of Formula One
you're just trying to run me off the road.
Pretty much all of the cars is cornering speed.
This is important because unlike other big motorsports like NASCAR, which require drivers to travel in mostly a symmetrical oval, F1 circuits contain every kind of corner you can think of, and racers want to get through those corners fast.
The racing line
Laguna something or other?
The fastest way through a corner.
That one has
or
like
a set of corners. If you had unlimited
looks like a
grip,
fucking hairpin,
and the car
you know?
wasn't just going to roll over, you would always hug the inside. You would always go the shortest possible distance. But the fact is that the more your steering wheel is turned, the less speed your tyres can cope with.
Hugging the inside track means
that makes
you have
sense.
to slow down pretty severely to
otherwise
avoid
you'll
losing
break
grip.
your fucking axle. That like
the outside edge might theoretically let you go faster, but
you would be going a lot further, like massively further, depending on the width of the track.
And as you can see from these F1 simulators,
that was my tactic in Gran Turismo back in the day, actually, was just go hell for leather and hit the fucking walls. My old man hated it, but it worked a lot of the time.
For error, because if you had a fraction of understeer or oversteer, you're immediately on the grass and in the barriers.
The ideal racing line for a turn like this is a combination of both approaches. The driver can hug the outside of the track on the way in, then turn in to clip the apex, or the center of the inside track, and end up back on the outside edge without losing too much speed.
By starting out as far wide
like
as you possibly can,
Pythag, basically, right?
That smooth flowing up, you're literally minimising the angle that your car is going to take, which means you can carry more
minimizing the angle and whatnot. I don't know, it's not really a triangle, is it? Because there's a curve there.
This fake 90-degree turn example because it's simple to
and yes, I'm referring to Pythagoras like he's my mate, Pythag.
Explain. But in real life, corners aren't that straightforward. The closest real-world example is Stowe on Silverstone in the UK.
Okay.
But Stowe isn't really like that normal, typical 90-degree corner. It is a bit longer. You reach the apex of Stowe, and you're there for a little while. At least a few tenths of a second, if not a second or so.
Enough to notice.
You still feel like you're kind of hugging the inside for a while. But you are definitely taking pretty much that typical line we spoke about.
You can see that in this clip from the 2022 Grand Prix.
Still starting out wide,
leads the pack and takes the
hugging the inside.
Ideal racing line. But
racing line
corners are a little more complicated.
A corner does not exist in isolation, so the racing line you take.
I mean, nothing exists in isolation, man.
Almost always a compromise.
Take this set of corners from that same Silverstone circuit. Brooklyn's is the super tight one, and it goes straight into Luffield.
You're at the end of a very long, fast straight. You then end up in a sweeping
That's fucking,
left-hander.
Do people
where
just...
it gets tighter all the way around, and it's then followed by a really long right-hander. So, judging by what we've been discussing so far, you'd probably say that you need to compromise your exit a little bit in the left-hander, so you wouldn't go all the way wide. However, in this example, you do almost the counterintuitive thing based on what we've already been learning.
Okay.
Which is the second corner. The right-hander is a very, very long right-hander, well over
So it takes
180
precedence.
degrees.
That makes
It
sense.
nullifies most of the benefit you would get from going wide and then cutting back towards it. It's not an apex that you kiss, like in our 90-degree right-hander example.
That makes sense.
You
It's
meet
more of a...
inside and you have to stay there. By trying
Like it's
to
nearly 180 degrees,
the
yeah.
initial left-hander, you're actually just wasting time. You're wasting distance. And this is why this is such a complicated thing and it doesn't have an easy answer.
You can see all drivers having a
Yeah.
slightly different approach to this particular set of corners in this
Quirky.
clip from the 2022 Grand Prix. While the leading car tries to use the most ideal path, hugging the curves, the following cars are more spread out.
But
And
they are?
did you catch that? These two cars almost collided, and to avoid it, this driver went off the track,
Yeah,
screwing
rough.
up his racing line entirely. Once you have to contend with other drivers, racing lines become
Who gets
a
penalty?
lot more
Like, who gets
complex.
penalised in
What
that
you have to do
situation?
is compromise.
Like, so, in that exact one, if any of you remember, let me know who, if either of them got penalised, but, or penalised, depending where you are. But, what's the, like, the person who stays on their racing line, am I answering my own question? Is that if you move off your line, there, and something happens, then you're at fault? Or is it the other way around, like if you force someone off their line? I don't know, let me know. That's interesting.
Based on the track.
I'm sure I've been told before.
So you're still going to be going.
Sorry it's been
inside,
so long
inside,
between
outside
drinks,
as much
guys.
as you can, but that will be on maybe half the track width.
If the weather is wet and rainy, that adds even more complexity. Racers
So
will
it does.
compromise their line even further in search of areas of the track that have more grip. Formula One drivers are constantly making calculations to adapt to any condition and still maintain a good racing line. And they can do that because they're not thinking of the line as they're driving. They just do it.
If I went to pretty much every F1
instinct
track,
by that
even tracks I've never actually been to before, I would probably know pretty much where I want the car to be from driving on simulators or watching videos and all that kind of thing. So it's not a guess.
Yeah, it's not guesswork. You're not turning up and being like, what's this track going to look like before you fucking green light, you know?
It's on the strategic compromises a racer is willing to make to get ahead of the competition.
That's really what separates drivers. You've got various inputs that you're
What you
making
do
as a
in the
driver.
moment.
Throttle input, braking,
To find the best
steering,
racing line.
changing gear, communicating with the pits, conversing with your engineers, strategy. But the biggest one of all of those is the steering. It is the line you're taking.
Makes sense. That makes heaps of sense. That's a really well put together video. Obviously, I'll put a link at the bottom of the description, after all the stuff that makes me money. I'll put a link at the bottom of the description, and yeah, you can go check that video out and give it a like. While you're handing out likes, feel free to give me one. Thanks to these guys, they support the channel. They have joined the YouTube channel. Feel free to do the same, and your name will go on that graphic. There's a whole bunch of other perks. I can't remember what they are, but I will look into that, I guess, because I should probably be perking those perks, right? Great advertisement. Anyway, let me know what you want me to react to in some other videos, and I will. Leave a comment, leave a like. As I said, you know how YouTube works. If this is the first time you've seen me, I'm Squid Centauri. I reckon you'll like me. I like me. So, yeah, do me a solid. Hit subscribe. I'll see you when I look at you. You'll see me when you look at me. Thanks for watching this one.